Alright, so blues in the Grateful Dead style. What does that really mean? I think at its core, blues is a 1-4-5, and when I say numbers like 1, 4, and 5, I'm talking about the Nashville number system, where the tonic or the key is kind of represented by the 1 chord. And in this case, if we're in C, that would be the 1 chord, the 4 chord would be F, and then the 5 chord would be G. And we're either doing a major sound for all 3 of these, or any combination of them, but it's either a major or a dominant sound. So a major or a dominant where you have that flat 7 in there. And when playing in like the kind of, not even Grateful Dead style, but like the Jerry Garcia style, I think of more of like JGB, where he's playing That's What Love Will Make You Do. A lot of times he's kind of playing like a 9 chord. So a 9 just has the 2 on top. I don't want to get too theory-y with you guys, but it's basically like putting the D on top if you're playing a 7, a dominant chord already. So I'm just assuming you guys know what most of this means. You can look up a dominant chord in C, and then you can look up a 9 chord, and they're a very similar kind of sound. So that's the 9. That's like a standard kind of 7 chord or dominant chord. And then that's the 9. It's all just kind of like fundamental chords for blues. So major, 7 chord, and 9 chord. You can kind of use them interchangeably in any combination you want. You can play like a major C, like a C major, and then go to like a 7 for the F, or you could play like a 9 for the C, C9, and go to like just a normal F, right? They all kind of work together. The only like chord that sometimes can be a little spicy is I'm just gonna call it the Jimi Hendrix chord, because that's what most people know it as. So instead of playing like the 5 chord like a 9, you just kind of, I think it's a sharp 9, because that's the 9 right there, and you're just sharpening this one note. I might be getting that wrong, but just look up Jimi Hendrix chord. We all kind of have heard it. So that's the chordal stuff that's going on with the blues, and it's no different for That's What Love Will Make You Do. There's this cool kind of riff. And it goes to the 4 chord. Back to the 1. To the 5. 4. And then back to the 1. And you can add in that modified 5 chord that we just talked about, the Jimi Hendrix, for a turnaround if you want. But it's those 3 chords. So I think the cool thing about everything we've been talking up to this point about, where it's intervallic playing or kind of being able to use that modified pentatonic over modal center, everything we've been talking about fits into how you solo over a blues. The key difference here is I view a blues as the keys actually changing. I think that's what gives me the most, not accurate, but it makes me feel like I'm doing the most justice to the blues, because I think people can assume that the blues is really simple, but if you really dig in, it's kind of infinite. It's really difficult, way more difficult than I think people give credit. And I don't think the key to a blues is just sitting in a single box. So the thing that's kind of interesting, that is like the natural progression of everything I've been talking about to this point, is almost like treating the modified pentatonic in 3 different places, and you just kind of can play that, right? The over the 1 chord, and then when you get up to the 4 chord, sorry, and then you can go back to the 1, already hear how it works, and then going to the 5 chord, down to the 4. So even just playing the modified pentatonic over the chords when they come by already gives you this kind of cool bluesy but like Garcia blues type of sound. And so if you can master the that side of the pentatonic equator with the modified pentatonic that I've already showed, but you can also do it on the other side, which is if we're in C, it's this. I'm kind of getting comfortable in like being able to navigate those two scales, or two sides of the same scale, I guess, really. If you can do that comfortably, then suddenly over 3 chords, you now have like 6 kind of scales. And it kind of grows and grows from there the more that you learn, right? So if you can get past just those 2 equator positions, and start going into different, I guess, inversions of that modified pentatonic, then you can start to create this big web of scales, but note choices, and you can kind of play certain phrases into the next chord that comes, right? Like if you're playing in the 1, going into that 4, and then back into the 1, and then to the 5, 4, turn around, 1. You can start kind of weaving all these things together. So I think that was like the main thing I wanted to talk about. I think there is a lot to be said about the blues and adding chromatics. So, I had kind of talked about it previously. You can add in some extra notes to the modified pentatonic. So you can add that minor third in there, and then the blues note. And if you get comfortable adding the blues note and this minor third, then suddenly you have all these different options. You can kind of hear, I don't think I've talked about, that approach that I'm doing too much before, but because you have the and now you can kind of, you can use that minor third and the blues note. You have all these notes right next to each other. It just depends on how you're phrasing them. Because you always want to end on what's in the modified pentatonic. The blues note and the minor third are more like passing tones, or I'm using them to like bend up. To get that kind of bluesy sound. That's how you're getting some of those like really crazy runs that somebody like Richie Blackmore. I mean, Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple, he was kind of a master at the blues, and he would do these crazy runs. He's just kind of using this pull-off chromatic approach. And then applying them over a blues, like Lazy is a good example of that. There's a bunch of different examples. But there's a lot to kind of like practice on this. Like you're going to hear what I do and what I'm talking about, and it's going to be kind of a mystery for a while. It took me about 15 years. I've been playing for like 21 years now. It took me about 15 years to really start to understand what the heck is going on with the blues, and I still don't fully know or can anticipate. It's it can be hard for some people. It was hard for me. It's because you have multiple options of scales. You know, you could do that really majory sound. Or you can do a more... and then kind of blend them. And what you're hearing is just the combination of everything I talked about. Modified pentatonic in 3 different places, but also knowing my major kind of, the major side of that modified pentatonic, but also just kind of superimposing a straight up minor pentatonic. Right, we all know that sound. But kind of doing it more intelligently, and not just doing that stuff, kind of keeping that Jerry Garcia mentality. And kind of sprinkling it in, and then kind of getting more comfortable with chromatics. I think everybody should develop their own phrasing style for chromatics. I can show you what I'm doing here. But it should just be something that you stumble on, I think, yourself. Otherwise, you'll kind of sound contrived, I think, with chromatic runs. The only reason I phrase like that is because of how I naturally can find the time with my pull-offs. I can't really do it going on hammer-ons all the way up. You know, it's just naturally what happened over time for me. Okay, so in context, modified pentatonic. And then landing on the 5. I'm always hitting that major third. I'm kind of messing up all the place. I'm not really warmed up. You know, it can be really hard to get into the zone and in the flow. That's why I think it's worth practicing a ton. I need to practice it more. I'm just showing you kind of where I've gotten with my understanding of it. And I'm not also very in the zone today in general, I think, but it's still worth powering through, even if you know you're not like in the super flow state or feeling it. It's still worthwhile to kind of push through and challenge yourself. I'm just practicing at this point, but maybe I should title this video not how to solo over 145 in Garcia style, but how to practice, because Lord knows I need to practice a little bit more. One other thing I can say that's kind of fun is this kind of diminished, which we've all heard before, right? If we're in the key of C, I'm doing a diminished chord up here at the 12th fret. If you get rid of the middle note, you kind of have that intervallic thing. It's really good to be able to find some runs through that those intervals too, because there's a lot of blues that we've all heard that stuff, and it's fun to add those into your solos and your playing, and like they can lead into the next chord, right? So when you're on the one chord, you can go up a minor third with those two notes and then land on the 4 chord. Go back up to the C, and then go down to the G, F, and then, you know, the classic turnaround to finish the entire kind of blues. You play a 1. I'll just say the frets on the E. So 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, and then you can land on the 3 on a string above, which is really just the 1 chord, right? Man, I'm not playing good today, but this is important to show you guys that I don't play good every day, but I'm still here playing. That's the important part. I'm just doing a 9 chord of a C sharp and then going into a C. Okay, hopefully this is helpful. This might be a loose one for me, a little bit more loose than usual, but good luck. Thanks.